With the death of Alexander Severus, the throne was up for grabs and the political climate was left unstable. This murder gave more control to the army, which put the decision of who the leader should be in their hands. The problem with that is that most of the leaders that they had picked were generals with no political background. So yes, maybe they knew how to give orders, but they didn't really know what it took to rule. That is why they were called the Barracks Emperors, because most of them were low-ranking generals. Over the 50 years, they ended up going through about 26 emperors. Why 26 emperors? Well, because almost anyone could really become the emperor. Multiple people were vying for the throne. As long as you could survive and bribe the army, you were set. Yet if you didn't pay the army enough, then you'd be kicked off the throne and killed. The average time most emperors would last was 2 years. While Romans fought Romans, many watched and took advantage of the situation. Rome was focused on internal matters, while foreign countries planned invasions. Foreign enemies smashed the Roman border defenses, Alemannian Franks on the Rhine, and the Goths on the Danube. When they invaded the empire, they took what they wanted and destroyed many important cities. The Sassanid Persians were one of the biggest threats to the Roman Empire in that time. They even captured the Roman Emperor Valerian. Not only did the Romans lose their cities, but they lost their dignity. In 258 AD, the territories of Gaul, Spain, and Britain broke free of Roman control, nominating their own emperors and calling their state the Gallic Empire. 2 years later, the eastern provinces broke free, becoming the Palmyrene Empire. The Gallic Empire was more so modern-day Europe, while the Palmyrene Empire was near the Middle East, like Syria and Egypt. So not only did Rome have an unstable political climate with the breaking away of the empires, but their own identity as an empire was waning. Even before the death of Alexander Severus, because of Rome's reliance on the army, they would pay a lot more to their soldiers. Paying the soldiers isn't the problem, but when they started devaluing the worth of money by lowering the silver content, they put the economy in a state of inflation. During the Severian dynasty, Severian emperors increased the salaries of the soldiers by 200%, and in order to pay for this, they increased taxes and devalued the currency. The emperors continued these policies and often had to bribe the soldiers for support in civil war. The actions of all these emperors did not really hit until the 3rd century, where inflation was the highest it has ever been. This led to people bartering instead of using actual money. This meant that the Roman government faced bankruptcy because they relied most on the people's taxes, their money. Because of inflation, basic necessities were impossible to buy. Even though it seemed hopeless, Rome eventually recovered and entered into a period of reformation. The Reformation period started with a focus on the foreign invaders. The build-up started in 269 AD when Claudius II defeated the Goths at the Battle of Naissus, driving them out of Roman territory. Then we moved on to a commander named Aurelian. Aurelian won many more victories against the Goths and the Alemanni. He eventually went on to defeat the Gallic and Palmyrene Empire. His goal was to reunify Rome and restore their territories. He also helped with economic reforms like putting back more silver content to up the value of coins. When Aurelian was murdered by a Praetorian Guard in 275 AD, civil war sadly started back. The emperor who continued his reforms and made the greatest impact was Diocletian. In 284 AD, he successfully restored the government to the Roman Empire. He focused on the same reforms as Aurelian and did even more to stabilize the empire. Diocletian formed a new system of rule called the Tetrarchy, or the rule of 4 people. This divided the empire into 4 parts with 4 different capitals. These 4 rulers were able to rebuild the empire and build some political stability. To address inflation, he passed the Edict of Maximum Prices, an edict that set a maximum price on basic goods and services in Rome. He also upped the value of coins by adding new, purer coins like gold solidus. In conclusion, the 3rd century crisis was a buildup of an unstable government, foreign invasions, and economic problems which led to a new reformation of Rome. The unstable government led to a more controlled government instead of a form of rule like the tetrarchy. The invasions caused the emperor to pay more attention to defeating those around them, and the economic problems led to a control on the price in regards to basic necessities and formed a new type of coin like the gold solidus.